Hello, it's Dave here from davemenzies.com. I wanted to do a video today about two things really, visualization and meta stories. Now, you're probably familiar with the idea of visualization. Meta stories, maybe not. Two kind of different but very similar kind of things. And I just wanted to talk about how powerful those can be when you really put them into action. When you're looking to get something, achieve something, maybe it's a material possession, a change in your lifestyle, love, relationships, anything at all. If you put these things into action, you'll pretty much be able to get anything you want. And it's a little kind of trick that's quite a lot of science involved in it, particularly in the meta story side of things. I've actually written quite a long blog post about this, which I'll give you a link to at the end of the video. But I just wanted to kind of talk about a couple of things and give you an example of how it's been able to get me things I've wanted pretty much all my life, even before I kind of understood what I was doing. So meta stories are kind of a big part of quite a well-known book called How to Get Almost Anything You Want Fast. And they're written by a couple of guys called Joe Vitale and Stuart Lichtman. And they work together to create this kind of, it's quite an involved process of basically training your subconscious to remember things that a time in your life where you achieved something you really wanted really badly, and you write this down and you kind of analyze it in huge detail. It's really quite hard work, but really well worth doing. I was actually introduced to that whole concept when I joined Six Figure Mentors. When you become a member of them, and again, you can see some of my other videos if you subscribe to the channel about them. And if you go and look at the blog post, there's a link to their free video series as well. But when you become a member of Six Figure Mentors, one of the first things you do in their step-by-step setup process is a thing called a blueprint. And meta stories and visualization are very much part of that. So you kind of imagine the kind of life you actually want, and you describe it in great detail, where you want to live, your ideal day, your ideal week, how you want to be spending your time, how much money you want, just in an awful lot of detail. And in the blog post, I use a couple of examples. There are lots of things in my life which I have managed to attain by visualizing them really, really powerfully. And one of them that I write about in the blog post is a car that I wanted. This is a little model of it. And it's a Ford Capri. Quite an old car now. They're really pretty hard to get hold of these days. They go for huge amounts of money. They were in their day the kind of UK version of the Ford Mustang, if you like, so a kind of affordable sports car in the kind of late 60s, early 70s, part of that range of kind of 70s Fords in the UK that were all pretty amazing cars. But I decided I wanted one a long time ago. I really for some reason decided I wanted one. I'd watched the TV programs like The Professionals, where the guys raced around in Ford Capris and Ford Escorts and all these kind of cars that as a kid were really quite iconic, amazing cars. And I just got a lot older in life, and by this time they were kind of classic cars, and I just decided I wanted one. And they were pretty rare, and you didn't really see an awful lot of them. So, I just kind of wanted one. And so what I did was I started this process of visualization. I kind of visualized the car that I wanted. I learned everything about all the different models that they had. I collected pictures of them, images and calendars, anything I could find in the Ford Capri. I didn't really have YouTube then, so I couldn't look at videos or anything, but I just absorbed everything I could about Ford Capris and took it down to the last detail, exactly the one I wanted: the engine type, the colour, the type of wheels I wanted, the interior, the kind of fabrics the seats were made of, all of that kind of stuff. And, pretty soon after I started doing that, I started seeing them, Ford Capris, all over the place. They used to be that either because I wasn't focused on them, I wasn't really noticing them, or they just started to manifest themselves in my life, and everywhere I was driving around, looking around, if I was working, wherever, I would see Ford Capris and I'd kind of go, oh yeah, I just got to have one. And then, eventually, I'll show you a picture here of the one that I eventually got. One day I was out working and happened to go past a used car showroom, and there was my Ford Capri, exactly the configuration I wanted. I wanted a red one, wanted the kind of wheels that are on this, and got that car. And I could name lots of things. I'm a musician and a guitarist, and you know, I've got really nice guitars, amplifiers, and I got those through a visualization. I didn't have a ton of money. I had a day job, and so to get these things, I basically had to just work more or get part-time jobs or find some other way of getting the funds together to get them. And since then, really, that process of visualization has kind of laser targeted my subconscious. This is what happens with visualization and meta stories. Basically, you are feeding your subconscious and programming it to work with your conscious to get the things that you're telling it you want. And it's nothing magical about it. It's a sort of scientific process. Particularly in the meta story side of things, you can actually do this in a very scientific, almost mathematical kind of way. But I have always found visualization, picturing things, even actually, like I say, getting the pictures really helps. But the thing that you really need is some kind of vehicle. You get the programming going on, you get the visualization, you write the meta stories, so you've got your subconscious on your side for a change. It isn't always that way. But when you can get that process happening, your subconscious will drive your conscious mind, drive you to find ways of getting the things that you need. And oftentimes it can be quite a circuitous journey. It's not always as simple. If you want your perfect partner, or you want to move, like I did myself, from the city to the countryside, you need some, practical way of supporting that, making that happen. And for me, that's been the car stuff was a long time in the past, so were the guitars and so on, and that was just a case of getting a promotion or working hard or doing it overtime or taking a spare time job, that kind of thing. That will only get you so far. You can't really duplicate yourself that much. But these days, the vehicle that can get you pretty much anything you want is the internet. So for the bigger things in life, as I described in the blog, like my lifetime partner, being in bands and doing support tours with people, playing all over the world, that came from visualization. There's no other way to describe it. But the vehicle for the big stuff I needed was to completely change the way I was doing things. And again, by programming your subconscious to drive you, it leads you down roads that provide the vehicles that you need to do this. So I could talk about this all day. You probably don't want to watch a video for 4 hours about this, so I'll kind of end it here. But I will give you a link to the blog post where I describe this in an awful lot more detail and give you some practical tips and, like I say, some actual information about vehicles that you can use to kind of harness the internet as the means to get you the things that you want. So thanks for watching. It's been Dave here. If you've enjoyed this, feel free to leave me a comment, subscribe to the channel, and follow the link at the end and have a look at that blog which I've just finished on my website. Thanks for watching. Cheers for now.